Hello, my name is Lauren and this is my life. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I will be discussing spiritual health. It is the last of the 5 pillars of health, but no less important than the other 4. What is spiritual health? Spiritual health is your connection to something greater than yourself. That could be anything. I'm not just talking about organized religion. I'm not just talking about not even believing in anything. I'm talking about your faith in something greater than yourself. So, to demonstrate that, I'm going to be talking to you about my spiritual journey. I am a very spiritual person. I suppose you could say I'm spiritually in the closet. But for me, my earliest introduction into spirituality was through the church. I'm baptized Anglican, and my mum would take my sisters and I to church when I was very little every Sunday, and we would go to Sunday school. And it was mostly doing arts and crafts and you know, making crucifixes out of paddle pop sticks and things like that, which was super fun. Like, the church part was so boring, and then they'd be like, all right kids, let's all go off and do some arts and crafts, while the adults had to stay and listen to the Sunday sermon. So I would much rather have gone and done the arts and crafts, that for sure. But when I started school, my schooling life, I was sent to a Catholic school, which is, it's a Christian, both Anglican and Catholicism a Christian religion. So they're basically the same. There's just minor differences in there. But what I found personally with the Catholic schooling was how strict it was compared to going to an Anglican church, and how we were made to feel like we were bad all the time. Like, we were told that we were sinners and you were bad, and Eve made Adam do this, and women are bad, and it was very much like that. So I would have to go to church every Friday from kindergarten to year 6. So that's 7 years of schooling. I would have to go to church every Friday. And then when it came time for me to go to high school, I went to a Catholic boarding school, where again, I would have to go to church once a week, or chapel. We went to chapel, so it was a shorter version. And then again, because I was a boarder, I would have to go on Sunday. So I was going to church/chapel twice a week, and having that Catholic dogma shoved down my throat. It was boring at the time, and I was like, this is so boring, I actually hate it, and I would hate going to church. I would love looking at the stained glass window and the parquetry flooring in one particular chapel, and I think I would often go there as a boarder. I've spoken it previously in my mental health video that I was severely bullied. I would go to this chapel because it was a quiet place, and I would just sit there and be alone and be in the quiet, which now looking back, that was more of a meditative practice. I wasn't doing any structured prayer, but I was definitely going into a meditative state. At one point when I was at that Catholic boarding school, I even considered converting to Catholicism and becoming a nun. I think it's just because I loved being in that particular chapel so much. And I think too that the discipline of that lifestyle, because I lived with nuns, they were in the same building as me, like the convent was in the boarding house. That particular type of discipline, I don't know, I found that quite attractive for some weird reason as a 15-year-old girl. And then for the last part of my schooling, I went to a uniting school, which was even more relaxed. Like, I think we did chapel every now and again. We might have had a really loose prayer session on a Sunday. We had said a prayer, before we ate, but that was really it. It was nowhere near as dogmatic as the Catholic school, and it wasn't a main focus. One thing I did get out of that experience with my spirituality was getting to know the Bible really well, and I actually topped my religion exam in year 11 because I'd gone to a Catholic boarding school, so I'd had it all, stored up here subconsciously for years and years and years. So I did really enjoy looking into parts of the Bible and the stories in the Bible and all of that sort of stuff. Then when I left school, it all went out the window. I was like, I'm not into that. Like, I'm never going to church. I don't care. I'm not going to pray. I'm not going to do any of that anymore. As I got older and the traumas of my past started to surface and I started to get curious, I started to look into, I wouldn't call it, I don't even know what I would call it. My husband Scott was a really big influence in my looking into more of source energy and universe, and I don't want to call it new age spirituality, but it's like second wave new age spirituality, I think you would call it. And so then I became quite interested in that, and I was like binge watching spirit science videos and going, oh my God, yes, this is blowing my mind. And I guess you could say that I had like a spiritual awakening, not in the sense of like, oh, I'm now spiritually awake, because that's not what happens. But I started to do a lot of work on myself, and I started to develop my own personal spiritual practice. So what does that look like today? My own personal spiritual practice is very much based on source. I do believe, I still do believe in Jesus, definitely. I do believe he was on earth. I definitely think he came here and taught and learnt and had a physical experience on this planet. But I believe more that he is a consciousness that was embodied, that he didn't actually rise from the dead, but his consciousness remained, if that makes sense. So I do believe that he's very much present, and that you can like pray to him or talk to him or call him in or whatever it is that you want to do. I am also from a Scottish ancestry, and I feel deep within my bones a Druid Celtic connection. Like, that is an ancient memory for me. So I'm very much connected to nature-based religions, focusing on the cycles, focusing on herbs and their medicine and superstitions that were passed on to me by my mum, and magic. As random as that sounds, I 100% believe in magic. And I believe, if you believe in manifestation, you believe in magic. If you believe in spirit guides, you believe in magic. So yes, I totally believe in spirit guides. I have three. One's just come along, a new one. I definitely speak to family members that are no longer living, like my grandmother, and I speak to my grandfather, who I never met, at certain times. Especially when I go into a meditative state, they tend to both pop in and pay me a visit, which sounds a bit cray-cray, but it's not. Like, most people have these experiences and they just think that it's voices in their head, or that they, I don't know, intuition is a really strong thing for me as well. I'm very intuitive, and I very much, the older I get, the more I listen to that intuition and rely on that intuition, and have developed a connection with that. And it's a blend. Like, I'm a blend. I've studied the Tao, I've studied Buddhism, I've obviously studied Christianity, I've studied Druidism, I've, a whole lot. So it's like this big melting pot of things that I'm like, yes, that have clicked with me when I've read something. Like, they've clicked with me, and I'm like, yes, I 100% get that. I understand what that person is saying. I understand, I can relate to that. So that's my spiritual journey. I have spirit guides. I talk to them. I do tarot cards. I feel people's energy. I very much can read the energy of a room and of people. And I don't know if any of you have heard of human design, but I'm like a 6/2 projector. which means that I absorb people's energy and I'm able to project my energy, which sounds nuts, but look into it. If you haven't, it's actually mind-blowing when you get your own human design chart done. And, you know, I love anything to do with esotericism, I suppose you could say. I love that stuff. Like, it fascinates me. You know, quantum entanglement even. You know, I saw a meme that was like, doesn't matter if you call it science or if you call it Christianity or Buddhism or, you know, Muslimism, or if you call it spooky action at a distance, it's all the same thing. It's all the same thing. And whether or not you have this deep knowing within yourself, or you're just becoming curious about your connection to the universe at large or something greater than yourself, I encourage you to explore that. Why is spirituality so important? Because you ain't the center of the universe. It's that simple. Spiritual health is having faith in something greater than yourself, being able to work towards a goal that is greater than yourself for the betterment of the greater good. So spiritual health is really important in times of depression because it gives you faith in something else. I remember when I was, when I stopped drinking for that 12-month period, I actually had quite bad withdrawal symptoms from that, and I had a big depressive slump when that happened. And that's when I stumbled across the Way of the Rose book, and I read that, and I became strongly connected to the great mother figure. And I remember having horrific withdrawal symptoms and thinking, I can't fucking do this anymore. And I was on the floor of my shower crying, literally begging, like saying to the great mother, or Mary, or whatever you want to call her, Kali, like whatever, I can't do this. You have to take this burden from me. Like, I'm actually getting a bit upset thinking about it because it was such a shitty time in my life. And if I didn't have that faith and that practice of doing the rosary every day, I don't think that I would have actually gotten through that. Like, I would wear my rosary beads around my neck. I wore them around my neck for a really long time because I would just like hold on to them and be like, no, I've got this. I can get through this. Because I had faith in something greater than myself. It helps with our community health because we become part of a community when we decide to look into a spiritual, you know, a spirituality that suits us, whether that's a church or whether that's a Wicca group or whether it's a, you know, a Druidism group or whatever it is that you choose to do. You become part of a community because you have chosen to look into a specific type of spirituality. It's good for your physical health because like all religions and all spiritually based practice tell you to take care of your body. And they all tell you that it's not just your body, that it's your body, your mind, and your spirit. All of them talk about that connection and how you have to take care of all of them. And how if you don't have a clean vessel, then you don't have a clean spirit. So looking into your particular type of spirituality, it will tell you to take care of your body. And that, you know, gluttony is a sin. That comes from the Bible. Like, gluttony is a sin. I'm not saying that if you're a glutton, you're a sinner, because I don't believe that anybody actually is a sinner. I believe that we're all inherently good. So it's good for your physical health in that way. And it's good for your emotional health too, because that's intrinsically linked with your mental health, because you have faith in something else. You go and bond with other people in your congregation or in your spiritual group, and you all release oxytocin together and you feel good. Like, it makes you happy. You laugh with these people. You have moments of sadness with these people when you are burying, you know, people who have died, or when you're celebrating a wedding, or they become part of your family. So that's how it's all linked in with each other. So it's important to believe in something greater than yourself. That's about all I have to say about spiritual health. You're probably like, holy shit, you're kind of random, like talking to your spirit guides and that, but I just am. And anyone who's followed me on any sort of social media, you probably would have picked up that I'm a bit of a witch. I just am. I'm coming out. I'm a witch. I love it. And, you know, I do tarot card readings randomly for people, or I'll chuck a random tarot card of the day up, or, you know, anything like that. I'll be like, whoa, read the energy in this room. Like, if you tune into your body, if you tune into your emotions, if you tune into your mental health and you take the time to actually relax and regulate your nervous system, if you find your community, you will eventually find spirituality. Let me know what your spirituality is in the comments. I seriously don't even know what to call myself. You're like, yes, I'm a witch, but also I'm a universal person. I'm going to name it second wave new age spirituality. I don't know if anybody's done that before, but that's what I'm calling it, all right? So let me know down below what your spiritual beliefs are, if you have any. If you don't have any, then why don't you? Do you believe that there is a source, something bigger than yourself, or do you think that we all just die and turn into nothing and that our consciousness goes nowhere? Which is impossible because the universe actually recycles everything. What do you believe in? Let me know. In the next video, I think I'm going to do a little breathwork video because I've been focusing a lot. And seeing a hell of a lot of stressed out people. Where I live at the moment, we are in the build-up season, and mango madness / going tropo is a real thing. So I think that doing a breathwork video would be really beneficial for everybody, especially as we move into the silly season of celebrating the birth of Jesus here on earth, or Christmas, or Yule, or whatever you want to call it. A celebration with your family, if that's all that you have. So keep your eyes peeled, and I'll catch you in the next vid. See ya.